decision making. I think a lot of life is committing to a path and then path dependency kicking in. What I mean by path dependency, and you can Google it or Wikipedia it to get a feel for what it actually means technically, but just by deciding to do X, you increase the probabilities of getting to X. So I'm a strong believer in, I want to do X. Okay, there's no second choice. There's no hedge. There's no option value. I am going to make this work. Right. And then the question is, well, how do I make this work? What are the blockers? What are the things I need to solve? What are the limiting steps? And then decomposing those with tactics and initiatives designed to succeed. So I think to some extent, there's an emotional decision that you're making of like, this net feels like the right thing to do. I'm going to do it. And now how do I make this work? And then that's sort of what we did with the move to Miami. We sort of said, we're committing. Yeah. We didn't hedge. We said we were moving, literally bought a house, closed on the house and moved in the same day and said, okay, now how do we we knew we would enjoy Miami from a lifestyle perspective. That was like a no-brainer. But to make it professionally successful for me, there was some key ingredients. Like we as investors are derivative. So we only can propel ideas forward that founders approach us with, and therefore we need to find founders and entrepreneurs, and we need to ensure the founders assemble and marshal the right team. And so there's a lot of moving pieces to this. So then it was like, okay, now that I'm committed to moving to Miami, what are the ingredients to success over the next 3 to 10 years? And then how do we create momentum around those? And then that's what I've been doing since. So I think everything is like that in life. You decide where you want to go and then figure out what's in the way of success and then solve that. Yeah. And then rinse and repeat sort of.
Yeah. It reminds me of the old adage about Cortez sort of burning his ships at the shore, which is the stuff of Silicon Valley legend, which I think makes a lot of sense, right? In invention is sort of the necessity is the mother of invention, as they say. So if you have to make it work, then you probably will. How do you sort of manage your stress though, when it's like that and you feel like there is no going back, there is no hedge, there is no plan B?
I think it's actually pretty easy. So I think the stress is up front, meaning should I do X? Once you decide, I think it's actually really easy to sleep at night and then just fire away forward, propel yourself forward, make progress every day. Hopefully the progress starts compounding. I also believe stress is a good thing generally. Like one of my favorite books of all time is called The Upside of Stress, written by a Stanford professor, Kelly McDougall. Highly recommend it. The basic arc of the book is that the more stress you have in your life, the healthier you'll be, the wealthier you'll be, the longer you'll live. And she has marshaled incredible evidence on all of these dimensions. It will change your life if you haven't read it yet. So I'm a fan of stress. That said, I think I do have, like anybody else, sleepless moments when I'm trying to choose between path A and B. Sure. And so I think the key is deciding, and then I can sleep at night. There's kind of an old Harry Truman quote that I remember reading in college, which is some journalist asked Harry Truman if he ever regretted dropping the nuclear bomb on Hiroshima. And he said, no, what good would it do? Right. And I think there's some truth to that of like, once you've made a decision, overthinking it, that if it can't be reversed, and there are some decisions you can reverse, and those are different. But the decisions that can't be reversed, there's no reason to lose sleep over.
I love that. There's almost like a peace in permanency sometimes. And I've definitely seen that as well, in a lot of Harvard, Stanford friends. I think the downside is, as Barry Schwartz calls it, it's the paradox of choice. You can literally do anything. And that's problematic because you have a bunch of friends who did do many other things, and there's always the second guessing of yourself. So sometimes commitment to a certain path or person, quite frankly, I think can help quell that to some degree. And I definitely agree with your point about eustress or sort of positive stress. We talk about this a lot in psychology. There's so much of a focus on distress or the negative sides of stress. But I think, as long as it's recovered and it's not chronic, it can certainly be helpful in terms of pushing.
Well, I think it's converting. The key lesson and insight is to convert stress into a challenge and embrace the challenge. And this is an opportunity to challenge myself.
Right. Yeah, and I think that's finding the positive interpretation or meaning from it, right? Where if you see it as a threat, absolutely, it sort of activates the fight or flight. Versus a challenge, it's like, great, it's an opportunity. It'll make me better. So
Yep.
I think that attitude.
I mean, you see this in performance athletes or actors or musicians. Many of the best performance athletes of all time, musicians, et cetera, get extremely nervous before going on stage.
Yep.
Sometimes even throwing up in the locker room, famously, like Will Chamberlain used to notoriously, or no, not Will. I'm actually even better. Bill Russell used to notoriously throw up before playoff games. Which he won basically all of his playoff games in his entire career. But the point was he was challenging himself so much, his body was reacting, but it was a positive challenge.
Right.
It was like the body's basically getting ready and prepared for the challenge to see how good he could be.
Right. Yeah, I used to run track competitively, and I would unfortunately throw up after the track meets. But I think my body would knew that it's like I couldn't run a race and not give it my 100%. And so the whole day I would like not have an appetite because my body is like, all right, this is the challenge that you have to face. So that was interesting lesson learned.
For me, it's like giving a speech. For me, it's like giving a speech, an important audience, an important topic, a complicated topic. I still get nervous for. If I'm just giving, a presentation that I've given before, I don't feel that challenge, and then therefore my body doesn't get nervous. But when I'm really in front of people that are impressive and I want to make a unique argument, my body absolutely gets nervous, and that shows that I'm challenging myself in terms of my thinking, my ability to communicate succinctly, powerfully, et cetera.
Yeah, absolutely.